Hello, everyone, and welcome to Founders Week YQG. I am Sue Taylor, the Program Manager of Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Student Experience at the Genesis Entrepreneurship Center here at St. Clair College. We are proud to be one of the partner organizations in this exciting week celebrating our founders, and I'm delighted to be joining you today as moderator of this Fireside Chat. So this event is all about bringing together entrepreneurs, startups, innovators, our change makers, entrepreneurial support organizations, local leaders, and community. Our goal is to celebrate, educate, connect, and build momentum and opportunity around our region's startup community. While this event is virtual, we would like to be respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather today as the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi people. We are grateful to work, learn, and live in this area. This week would not have been made possible without our generous sponsors, so we would like to thank the Province of Ontario, the St. Clair College Alumni Association, the Job Shop, Libro Credit Union, Workforce WindsorEssex, Baker Tilly Windsor LLP, Alpha Core Group, WEtech, EPICentre, Small Business and Entrepreneurship Center, Genesis Entrepreneurship Center, and WEtech Alliance. Thank you for putting #Founders First. For more information about our sponsors, please check out WeTechAlliance.com/FoundersWeek. Today's session is hosted by the St. Clair College Genesis Entrepreneurship Center. The Genesis Center is the gateway to entrepreneurship and professional development at St. Clair College. It is a hub that connects students, alumni, faculty, and the community. The Genesis Center provides all guests with resources, programs, and support to provide them with tools to help each one succeed in whatever path they choose. Whether you work for yourself or someone else, if you have a business, idea, or solution, this is the place to start. To learn more about what we do and how we can help you, please register for the Leveraging the WindsorEssex Entrepreneurship Support Ecosystem Workshop on Wednesday at 3 p.m. So now to our housekeeping items. To be considerate and accommodate everyone attending today, we are going to do things a bit differently in this meetup by leveraging Zoom webinar. You might not be able to see all the attendees, but you will have ample opportunity to engage with our guests during the Q&A session. Feel free to use the chat feature located at the bottom of the video window to engage with session attendees. Should you experience any technical difficulties, please send a message in the chat box. The session will be recorded, and a video file, audio file, and relevant links will all be available on WEtech Alliance's YouTube channel and included in the attending follow-up email. We are also streaming this live on WEtech Alliance Facebook page. And finally, let's make sure everyone knows that Founders Week YQG is where it's at. Be sure to share your #Founders Week YQG experience on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. On behalf of the Founders Week YQG team, thank you for joining us today. So on today's Fireside Chat, please welcome Derek Anderson and Jordan Scott Trepanier and Heather Scott, who will be sitting down with us to share their founders' stories, exploring what drove them to start their business, discuss any trials and tribulations they faced along the way, and how they hope to positively impact the industry they are in. So Jordan Scott is inspired by nature and draws upon the wisdom of plants and natural healing methods to help others heal, grow, and live their fullest lives in optimal health. She has been building a community of holistically conscientious people from the area for many years by leading shamanic journey circles, meditation, and yoga classes, presenting at holistic wellness events, and through her personal practice as a holistic health counselor, Reiki master, and shamanic healing practitioner. Heather Scott is a visionary with a great eye for detail and a passion for architecture and interior design. A loving mother of 3, she has spent the last 25 plus years supporting her children and husband and creating a wonderful home. When the King's estate went up for sale, the ideas started flowing, and she found herself the new owner of what is today a beautiful wellness center in the heart of Kingsville called Estate of Health. Together, Jordan and Heather brought their gifts together to create a space for the community that facilitates healing, understanding, and growth. Derek Anderson is a chiropractor and owner of Ignite Health. He has been an entrepreneur for just over a year and practicing as an evidence-based chiropractor for 7 years. He previously worked with the Leamington Flyers Junior B hockey team for 3 years and spent 6 years working as a personal trainer. His passion for health and wellness drove him to complete a degree in kinesiology from the University of Windsor and a Doctor of Chiropractic degree at New York Chiropractic College. So guys, now that we've got all those over, let's start with a few fun rapid fire questions. So I'll start with Jordan. Tell us one fun fact about you, Jordan.
Well, I'm a Pisces. I was born in February, and so Pisces are known to kind of go with the flow and be very connected to water. That's my fun fact.
So Heather, what was your first concert?
My very first concert was Humble Pie at the Copa Hall.
Oh my God.
I was dating myself. That's going back a
Okay,
long
I love
way.
it. I love it. So let's go to Derek now. Derek, what business do you wish you had founded?
Well, as a big golf enthusiast, over the last couple of years, obviously the golf industry has boomed quite a bit. I think it would have been pretty cool to start a golf simulator business. That way I could play golf while I work.
Oh, like Top Golf even. That would be great.
I'm
Actually,
not good enough to be a PGA golfer, so that would have to do.
I love it. So let's go back to Jordan. What's your current Netflix binge? What are you binging? What are you watching?
Actually, Modern Family.
Oh my, that's my go-to. That's so funny. And Heather, favorite book?
A Woman in White.
Oh.
It's a literature book, actually. It's just the best written, very well written book. I read it many years ago when my son gave it to me. He did his course in university, and that's one of the books he had to read. So I had a lot of footnotes with it, and it was an amazing book to read. Loved it. Yeah.
All right. So Derek, let's go with what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, that would have to come from my grandfather, actually. So, he was an entrepreneur himself. He moved down from London, Ontario, and started a small coffee shop in a small town called Wheatley. Some of you may have heard of it. But he always gave me advice, and his piece of advice for me is always have your foundation. For me, it's my family, my wife and kids, and my dog, and those are the things that I hold near and dear to me, and those are the things that allows me to step away from work.
And your foundation is certainly solid. I can say that for you for sure. So I'm going to do this with both Heather and Jordan. If you want to answer, what is the one thing you wouldn't be able to live without? And you can't say each other.
For me, it would be humor.
Oh, good answer.
Yeah.
I think like snuggles with animals.
Oh,
definitely need to have animal snuggles every day.
Love it. Great answers. Okay, so Derek, we're going to do this. Will be our last one. It's kind of related to the last question. Would you prefer to speak every language or be able to speak to animals?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably animals. We have a 7-year-old dog. He's a golden doodle. His name's Rio, and honestly, I would love to figure out what makes that dog tick, because he's a madman. So getting in his head would be pretty good.
And for me, I think I don't want to know what my dog thinks most of the time. I'd probably be getting in trouble. Sure.
That's true.
All right, let's kind of get to the general stuff then. So maybe Jordan, if you want to talk a little bit, I did a little bit in your bio to start, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself, sort of your background and how you got started?
Sure, yeah.
In words.
So I just love holistic wellness. I love all things to do with incorporating nature and nature's gifts in the forms of herbal medicine, and also tapping into our own natural abilities, our own innate abilities to bring about or facilitate healing and growth. And so I guess I started my journey by studying the mind. And I took psychology in university, and very quickly from there discovered that there's more to learn about the spirit and spiritual life. And so I started studying religion as well, and shamanism. I took yoga and meditation trainings. And then I guess I kind of rounded out my educational course, I guess, through all of the different things that brought me to my career point, and focusing more so on the physical aspects of healing. So I studied herbalism and body work techniques and reflexology and energy work and all these sort of things. So I guess my whole like education has been this culmination of discovering more about how we can create more harmony within ourselves and within our culture and with the planet. So that's kind of, I guess, how I got to where I am at this point in my life, just by studying all these things and really just following my intuition and my heart's desires for like learning more. And of course, I always had a really great, as you had mentioned, Derek, a great foundation, my family. And between all of my studies, I'd always come back home and ground myself and move back in with mom for a bit. And, you know, we ended up finding this property. Well, my mom really did, walking the dog around, and saw it was sitting for sale for quite some time. And, you know, I was kind of at a crux or at a transitional point where I had gone to university, I went to college, I got all of these trainings, and I was just kind of starting my first entrepreneurial pursuit. I actually did create a small company called Evolving Song before that. And that was basically just me and working in all of my holistic modalities, offering yoga, making teas and tinctures and aromatherapy and stuff like that. And my mom knew that I really needed a place to get my start, you know? And so she actually proposed that we look at getting this property or just look into it, right? Just like, let's see. And, you know, my mom obviously being like the visionary that she is, and she's so creative, she has all these ideas. So she presented the idea that we actually open a wellness center here and give me the opportunity to do my work and also cultivate community here and just a good space for people to come, and no matter what part they're at in their path, to get support and guidance and yeah. And so
Wellness.
Yeah, and wellness, like
yeah.
So
And I think you have your space there is very unique, and there's nothing like it in our area, which is one of the things I like about it. And the grounds are beautiful. You've completely renovated this this mansion in Kingsville, and which oddly enough, and we've talked about this, that was owned by my great-great-grandfather, which is so strange. And but it's just a beautiful space. So maybe you can talk just a little bit about the services that you offer, because I know you've mentioned yoga and Reiki, but there's so much more to what's there. So
sure,
maybe
yeah,
talk a little bit to that.
right. Well, I guess if anything I've learned is that like I'm not linear. There's many different aspects to creating wellness, and that's why it's called holistic, right? Mm-hmm. So we wanted to have many different aspects available to people here. So we do have the yoga studio where we offer yoga classes, but also qigong and meditation classes. We do workshops, sound bathing, all sorts of nice fun things there. And then we have multiple treatments. So everything from mind, body, and spirit, we've got it covered. We have psychotherapy here, nutritional counseling, we have Reiki and shamanic healing, as well as massage therapy, reflexology. And then we dabble a bit in, you know, the more wellness spa services. So we do holistic facials, body scrubs and wraps. We have luxury baths. So we've kind of, we hope that we're covering all of our bases in our treatments. And we do have an amazing team here. We work with, I think right now we're at 17 or 18 practitioners and teachers that are collaborating and providing all of these services and classes. And then we have our day spa as well. Mm-hmm. Do you want to share about that?
Well, the outdoor day spa was basically the idea of it's a hydrotherapy spa. So there's the idea that you take time to immerse yourself into heat, and then from there you would go into a cold So it'd be either the sauna or the hot tub, and then you either go into, which is now our cold pool, or we have showers outside as well. And then we have a relaxation lounge so it's the heat, the cold, and then the rest. So you do kind of a cycle, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you like. And then there's also just a lap pool. We have an outdoor scrub station where you can scrub your body down with salts and things like that. It's just, that's a sensory for the facultary, and also your body is beautiful after that. And so all these different things we just kind of put in there, all, little ideas that we thought we'd like ourselves. And Jordan lives here and on the property, so she actually has a spa just outside her back door.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would think that maybe I would use it all the time,
Yeah.
but I'm working a lot, so.
People are really enjoying our outdoor day spa.
Yeah.
We're finding that it's very popular. I really didn't know how it would go. I was hoping that this little boutique spa would be something that people would be from out of town wanting to come to. And we're finding that that is really what is starting to happen. And we're very young in this. We've only just opened really technically in July. So we're just kind of getting our feet wet with it. But it seems to be something that everybody's loving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the other thing that we really want to showcase is that we have an amazing property with these great old trees. And so forest bathing is something that we encourage all of our guests to do, or even just grounding themselves in our gardens while they're here. As I mentioned before, I work with plants and herbs and make teas and things like that. So a lot of our gardens are devoted to creating medicinal herbs and plants and things like that. So the whole idea here is for people to take time for themselves, take time to cultivate harmony and wellness for themselves. And that doesn't mean you come here and you get your quick appointment and off you go back into your car. It means unwind, take time, walk the grounds, have a cup of tea, maybe use the day spa, that sort of thing. So.
And I was out there one day, and one of the things I noticed, they had people out for like a stagette, like a girls' day before a wedding, which is a great opportunity. So
yeah, we get a lot of groups and bachelorettes and things like that. Yeah,
which is great. So now let's switch gears, and we're going to go to Derek now. So Derek is also dealing in the same sort of realm of health and wellness, but you guys are sort of on opposite ends of that spectrum, and even all of your service complement each other, really. So Derek, can you tell us a little about your kind of background and how Ignite started and some of the features of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And first off, Jordan, I just want to say that I really appreciate your business model. You can see how much of yourselves that you put into the business, and having that holistic mindset is kind of foundational to us as well. Maybe not in the exact same way, but I think having that perspective is very important. Health and healing is not a linear thing, and there's not one tool that somebody can subscribe to that is going to cure them of everything, or put them on the perfect path to health. It's generally a combination of multiple different things. And for me, the process wasn't there wasn't necessarily like a light bulb moment for me where it was like, yes, this is what I need to get into, or this is the path I need to go down. I started as a young kid playing sports. I was very active, and it's kind of more of the athletic background. And then halfway through high school, I took a class. It was the kinesiology class in high school, and I loved learning about the muscles and bones and joints and nervous system, and I thought all of that was pretty cool. So I became a personal trainer. So in my last year of high school, I started training at it was at the time it was the Frank T-shirt Recreation Complex in Leamington. It's not called that anymore, but a little bit old school. But from there, I continued my journey to Total Fitness in Kingsville. So I actually drove by the property that you purchased quite often. For going from Wheatley to Kingsville. So it'd be pretty neat to see how that property has developed there. From there, I progressed into kinesiology at the University of Windsor, which is a fantastic program. I would highly recommend that for sure. Represent Windsor. I think it's the third best program in the country now. And I, furthered my personal training career. And then from that point, I moved on to New York Chiropractic College. At the time I was under treatment, for, a couple of different sports injuries, and realized, that for me in the scope of practice, the best way I could help people was through that means. So, progressed through chiropractic college. I was a chiropractic intern for 1 year in Buffalo, which is very snowy, but learned a lot there. And from there, I moved into Leamington, Ontario, where I practiced for 6 years as an associate. And then, bringing back the, perspective of making things your own and tying in yourself into your practice. It was always a vision of my wife and I to start our own. So I wanted to bring in the combination of personal training, chiropractic, nutrition, massage therapy, having different angles that you could help somebody, with their healthcare. A lot of times when individuals undergo a treatment plan, they go through their course of treatment, or their health status is maintained by a practitioner. There's no next level to that, right? So either their treatment's done or they're maintaining their issue. For me, the health and fitness side is so important to progress that individual from, injury all the way through, achieving their health goals. So just kind of seeing them through their, entire cycle.
So, and Derek, one of the unique things, so you really do have a unique value proposition in what you're doing, combining everything together as well. Again, different practitioners, but you also have a beautiful gym space that you've put in and added that into your facility. So, and again, both of you opened your businesses in the midst of COVID, which I hate to bring, always we're talking about COVID all the time, but the struggle of opening and having to close and reopen. So maybe talk about that, because that did affect business for you, Derek, like with the gym space as well.
Yeah, that was interesting. So our initial business model was that we wanted to have small group training at more of like a membership type of rate, and also having, one-on-one personal training as well for individuals that need more of that one-on-one care. Obviously, with the gym closures, we were not really able to do any of that. So we had to pivot our business very quickly. We now have a fully functional, virtual training area, which we still do. So we help people all over North America, actually. So we have actually 2 clients in Florida, and a couple in Toronto as well. So now not only are we helping people locally, but we're helping individuals abroad as well, have access to our services. So that was one way we were able to pivot. And it kept us on our toes from a business perspective. So as recommendations changed and guidelines changed, we've been able to progressively work back into our membership model again, and so which we launched about a month ago again. And I think people are ready to definitely take their health seriously. After the last couple of years, I think people are really going to start valuing their health on another level. And we've seen that reflected in the individuals seeking out more of like that membership base.
Sure. So, and both of you really kind of grew up in this area. So maybe Jordan and Heather, you can speak to, how do you feel that WindsorEssex, what are the benefits of being in WindsorEssex and starting a business, as opposed to a place like, Derek talking about Toronto? How is WindsorEssex a benefit to us to be here?
Well, for one thing, networking is fantastic, right? Because with so many small businesses and startups and even like better established businesses that are already in the area, you kind of have any shared commonalities, or you just reach out to one another, the business owners tend to be so supportive and so excited for you to be successful. And you get connected with other people that, you never would have thought like, oh yeah, I guess I do need like a graphic designer, and I guess I do need a, website design and all this sort of things. a lot of these people just kind of are already in the area and already in your network. You just kind of need to tap into it and ask a little bit. So I think that's one of the nice things about living in this county and starting a business here is that small businesses are really, really important in smaller communities like Kingsville and Essex and Windsor. So that's great.
And the town has been very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So our like Natalie Hobby at the Kingsville township here, she's been fantastic with reaching out to all sorts of small business owners and you know, getting community events happening that are featuring small businesses, especially throughout the pandemic. She was really helpful in like just creating opportunities and events where we could all kind of present ourselves in some way when walking into a storefront wasn't a possibility. You know, they also have like beautiful little like grants for small businesses, and there are lots of opportunities. I mean, Kingsville itself has been really helpful for us. Yeah.
Well, and I think you're really talking about exactly why we're here. This is what Founders Week is all about. And it's business owners supporting other business owners and, you know, everybody coming together as a community. So yeah, absolutely. So let's go to Derek. Derek, how do you feel that, you know, what opportunities do we have to build momentum around startups in Windsor? Like, again, two of you very successful starting in the middle of COVID, and, you know, a lot of businesses are closing. How do we get that momentum and keep it?
Well, I mean, as I mentioned, health and wellness industry right now, I think is going to be massive. People are really going to start valuing their health and understanding how something like this, you know, can negatively affect them. So obviously, individuals with comorbidities are more affected by what has happened over the last couple of years. And I really do feel that a lot of people are starting to understand that and maybe value their health in more of a serious way. So it doesn't matter whether it's you know, a clinic gym facility like we have, or a facility like Jordan has, you know, tackling health and wellness, you know, from all different perspectives is going to be extremely important. And then small business, you know, as Jordan had mentioned, you know, an influx of new small businesses into our area to help to support each other. We are a small community. We do have the numbers of a big city, but you know, everybody knows everybody around here, and everybody knows somebody that does something. And you know, having that integration in that network amongst small businesses is going to be, you know, vital to the success of our area. Absolutely.
So, you know, again, there were some lessons that we learned along this way. You did talk about them a little bit, but so can you talk about, maybe Heather, maybe speak to this, what was a lesson you had to learn the hard way, and how do we avoid making those in the future?
Yeah. Well, Jordan and I were talking about that specifically, actually. We're trying to wonder, you know, because we really haven't stumbled along the way too much. It just seems like everything that has been happening organically. We didn't set out to open a business. I didn't set out to buy this beautiful estate. It just happened that it came up for sale, and it was like, this is the perfect time for Jordan to start a business. And so, I mean, we've just kind of been floundering along in the dark a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't say
well, not really knowing, because we've never done a business before. I've never had a business before. So, but we do have a husband. My husband is like, you know, a rock star business owner. So we do have a lot of help in that regard. And thank goodness for that. But we were talking about some of the things, like, for instance, the system that we put into place here.
Like our point of sale system and scheduling system.
Yeah. So we didn't know it as intimately as perhaps we should have or could have. And so we started out with it, and then we realized that we were doing something incorrectly. So going back to try and correct that now is becoming a bit of a nightmare.
It just took hours of going through invoices.
So I would say, like, know your systems well, or research as much as you can with what you're going to implement in your business.
Like the logistical side of things, like your scheduling system, know it inside and out.
Yeah. things like that. Those are the things that we've stumbled across a little bit, I must say. And then, we feel like, oh dear, we need to go backtrack and have an accountant come and help us out and stuff like that. So,
I mean, it wasn't like a dramatic, like horrible thing. It's just,
no, but it is one thing.
yeah, just something about like our gift certificates and not making a sale twice when people redeem a gift certificate. It's happened a couple of
something as simple
times.
as that. Those are the things that I think, you stumble across these things, but you just, you figure it out, and eventually you realize that, oh, well, we did it wrong, but we'll figure it out and we'll do it right in the future going forward. So.
Well, what's funny is I happen to know that you both use the same system. So maybe you could talk after this.
Yeah. Okay.
Derek's got it all figured out, I think. So maybe
close.
you can give me some advice. Derek, same question. So anything that you had to learn the hard way, and how do we help others avoid those mistakes?
So for me, and those close to me can attest to this, is time management. So for me, it's those little uncomfortable tasks that seem to build up that you push off. You have to get comfortable with doing those first. Initially, I would put those things off, and they would build up, and then all of a sudden you'd have one night where you're up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and you have to get on top of all of those things, and they're typically the things that we don't like to do. Other things like pre-planning, as Jordan and Heather mentioned. Making sure that you have a solid plan in place, and the logistics, at least from majority, worked out. One of the things that happened with me when we had first opened, I didn't realize I needed a communications company to come in and set up our telephone network. That's just something I just failed to look at. So we, for me, I was up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning learning how to put little Ethernet cable heads onto the wires, which I had no idea what I was doing. So definitely some frustration that way, and some better pre-planning and pre-work probably would have saved me from several extra hours of work.
So staying organized and staying on top of that. Jordan, how do you deal with that? And Heather, how do you guys stay organized? And I guess you have each other to rely on as well, but what kind of tips and tricks do you have for staying organized?
Well, a few of these things actually came or were like conceived out of like a desperate need because I was too stressed and not being able to like calm down. So for me, lists are very helpful. Like as soon as I get to work in the morning, I get a list of like my first day of the week, right? This little piece of paper and it has every day of the week. And it's just like all those little tasks, like Derek was saying, all of those little tasks that, you don't like to do and they end up adding up. You need to create a little time chunk in every day to have those things, and that you will get it done. And it's on that list. You're going to cross it off, that really helps me. I like to just like get all my thoughts out on paper so that I'm not holding them and trying to remember everything, because as an entrepreneur, you have to keep a lot in your head at all the time. It's like, especially when you have a business that's multifaceted, like there are countless things to remember. So,
like ordering and time scheduling and and the other thing is having some people and delegating work to them, take some of the things off of your plate and give it to somebody else to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it helps you to stay a little bit more organized in your brain, at least.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So again, we look at that keeping organized. I think that helps our mental health too, when we feel that we're actually organized. Are there any things like Derek, any things that you do that sort of help you with that work-life balance and help you refocus and stay positive?
So as Jordan and Heather just mentioned, having a good support system around you, individuals that you can lean on. Definitely early on, one of the things I struggled with were letting go of certain tasks. There's just things I liked done a certain way, and or I just got comfortable with doing them, and I knew I could just do them efficiently, and it was faster for me to just to get them done myself and not take the time to explain it to somebody else. How to do that process. So I'm progressively getting more and more comfortable with that. Also too, I went to Indigo and I got a productivity planner. So that was a big help for me. And it forces you to list the things that are most uncomfortable for you to do. And it has you work on them in chunks of 25 minutes. And I guess research shows that 25 minutes is about the average capacity to do the more monotonous tasks. And after that, you should be taking a break from those things and refocusing on something else for a period of time. So that has been very helpful for me. Just being able to list and organize my, the things I like to do versus the things I don't like to do, and making sure I'm getting those things done.
For sure. Those are great. I'm going to put on my list that I need to go to Indigo and get one.
Yeah. Well, they have a great business model there because they know how to take advantage of those situations because they're not cheap.
I need a consultant for that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So let's go, Jordan and Heather. So, you went through a lot, like, again, purchasing and being closed and opening, reopening. So how do you decide whether or not you stick with the idea or just throw in the towel? What was it that keeps you pushing forward and keeping with that business idea?
Well, like we were discussing this before this morning too. I think the biggest thing is when you see your clients being happy here, or like you see your clients progressing in their own journey to wellness, that is just brings so much gratitude up, like that's what makes it worth it. It's like you'll go through the headaches, you'll pay way more money than you think you're gonna, and like you have to learn a lot of things right off the bat. But I mean, honestly, I haven't felt like throwing in the towel at all, even though we've had a lot of opposition with COVID, or I mean, not opposition, but difficulty, huge challenge, like moving through with COVID. But at the end of the day, when your clients are leaving here like blissful, or when you see somebody in your class who's been progressing every week, that's just so rewarding. So I think like for me, it's about like the passion behind helping people and seeing it making a difference for people is what keeps it going. You think so
I
too?
agree 100%.
I think that's like the ultimate return on investment. It's not necessarily about money. It's what, you're hearing back and feedback and seeing those improvements. I agree 100% with that for sure. What about you, Derek? How did you, how did you decide to just keep going and instead of just going back into chiropractic as an associate?
To be honest, I think it's fun. I know that's like maybe not a common answer, and some people may perceive it as work or a struggle or something like that. But for me, I've always been very competitive with myself, and I've always liked to challenge myself, and I find it to be fun, and I find that to be rewarding. So when you have that interaction with a patient and things go well, that's very rewarding. When you hit certain milestones from a business standpoint, from both subjectively and with objective numbers, those things are very rewarding. And despite the challenges that you go through, even though it may not be fun at the time, I guess it's almost like working out. I don't know if anybody really actually likes to to work out. Like it can be fun and it can be enjoyable, releases good hormones and all of that stuff, but it's more of like the reward at the end of it. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. So that's what keeps me going. I just, I love what I do, and I love bringing that to people.
So, and what's next for your business, Derek? Where are we going? Are we expanding? Are we gonna ride it out for a bit? This is a great question. We're
we got through this first year, and that was good. So honestly, we've been very fortunate to be able to, like, even within our first year, grow very well. Like we've definitely, transformed into something that, going through some of the rocky points this year, I wasn't sure that we're going to be able to get to. Now it's time to, I guess, reset those goals and look ahead into the future. And, I definitely see the business expanding to some degree, especially the gym side. So right now we have just a small 600 square foot personal training studio where we host, just small group fitness classes of about 4 to 5 people at a maximum. I love that because it's intimate. You know, it allows a trainer to work on things very specifically with it, which each and every client. But I would like to expand the gym out to some degree. I love working with athletes as well. So I think having some sort of athletic development piece to our business and and some additional rehab space would be great. I really do think putting golf simulators too would be a lot of fun. Maybe not the financially the most ideal thing to do, but maybe far down the road that'd be pretty cool to add in there and have some sort of golf academy would be pretty neat.
Sometimes you have to do things for you, Derek. So
yeah, got to keep it fun, right?
I think it's a great idea.
It would be totally for me.
And as far as a state of health, Jordan and Heather, what's next for you?
Well,
Building clientele, I think.
yeah, I think
Is
it's
the
really just about getting more
focus.
rooted and established here. And
For classes and things like that. We like to probably see more attendance now that we can more people.
yeah,
People still are, there's this comfort level that isn't quite there yet though for a lot of people. So we understand it. And
Oh, they're frozen there. All right, let's go back to you, Derek. So last pieces of advice for a founder or an entrepreneur just starting out.
Wow. So I'd say optimism is something that is very good at the beginning. It's the thing that sparks us to get us going. But sometimes it can also blind us too. Sometimes that over optimism about a certain idea or a certain model will be just to make decisions that it could ultimately affect us in the future. So making sure that you have a system in place that you're able to look at things objectively with numbers. The numbers don't lie. If there's something that isn't working, either from an objective or subjective standpoint, you just know it's not going the way that you want it to. Making sure that you're pivoting off of that idea, right away, and don't just hold on to those ideas just because you felt good about them at the beginning. Be willing to move off of your position.
Well, and again, that's the whole concept we have on Friday night. We have failure night, and we're going to be talking about exactly that, of learning from things that have happened and being able to move forward and pivot. Like, we celebrate failure as opposed to being afraid of it. So it looks like Heather and Jordan, we may have had they were frozen. Maybe they're going to be coming back and joining us. So maybe what we'll do is, while they're getting back in, we will move forward onto the Q&A portion of the event. So a reminder to post your questions using the Q&A box, and we will do our best to address them. And you can also upvote a question as well. So I'm just going to pop over to the chat box and see if we have any questions. Maybe we'll wait for them to get on there. So I don't know if you can see the chat box there, Derek. So the comments about grounding and lists being so helpful. So
yeah.
Hold on here. Just seeing if Jordan and Heather are going to be joining us back here again, because we want to see them again if we can. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Any of our listeners? All right. Okay. Well,
Easy audience.
What's that? Yeah.
Easy audience.
Well, we answered all the questions, so now
that's right. That's right. It must have been that.
I'm curious as to whether Heather and Jordan are having Wi-Fi issues there. So there we go. It's lunchtime. I love it. All right. Well, seeing no questions, and I'm not seeing Heather and Jordan pop back in, so which is a shame. So what I will probably do is, oh, hold on. There's one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, here we go. A question has been asked, Derek. What has been more successful for you in terms of acquiring customers?
To be honest, we had to create brand awareness early. A big part of that is obviously getting out there on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Speaking of things that are uncomfortable for me, those are things that are very uncomfortable for me. So that's a pretty big leap. Actually, my wife takes care of that from that perspective. it's something that she's very good at. It's not something I'm overly comfortable with, but it's something that early on that we definitely had to do. But just making sure that word of mouth is key. Making sure that every interaction you have with each and every patient, client is positive, that they're taken care of, that you address any concerns they have, that you're doing what you do well, and making sure that every interaction you have with that individual is great, because they're going to be the ones that advocate for you. And especially with being in a small town, small city, people will tell their friend of a friend of a friend that you do a great job with them, and building up that word of mouth is important too.
Yeah, I think word of mouth is a big part of that type of business for sure. And then the other thing too, and what you're doing today, is part of that networking. So getting you out there, getting your name out there, and going to events like this, and meeting people. Again, we talked about WindsorEssex being so small, and it's not difficult to attend things and meet as many people as possible, which makes a big difference in who your clients are and who your customers are, and ask them to spread that word if they're happy with your service or your product, depending on what type of business you're running, to make sure that they're sharing that with others.
For sure.
Yeah.
And other businesses in this area have been extremely supportive, and even other businesses within the same field. We're all in this together, and it's not about competition. There's enough people in this area for everybody, right? And as long as we're supporting each other, and we're all pulling for each other, that does help out quite a bit too from a client acquisition standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. So there was another question. You sort of spoke to this already, but speaking of failures, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from a business failure to date?
Fortunately, we haven't had any major ones yet, so knock on wood there. For me, it's a bunch of the small things. So it's again, getting comfortable with doing the uncomfortable things. So for me, it's just letting those small menial tasks build up, and that would create missed opportunity. That would create situations where patients or clients would fall through the cracks, or we weren't following up on things maybe as good as we should have been. And being on top of those smaller things allows us to make sure that first of all, we're all accountable as practitioners, and then second of all, that our patients are taken care of, that people are, and that's the most important thing for their healthcare is making sure they're taken care of from every standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. All right. So we're not seeing Heather and Jordan come back here, sadly. So we're going to conclude the Q&A portion.
Oh, they're here.
Oh, they're here. Yay.
Hi.
Hi, we missed you.
We don't know what happened.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I guess
we must have lost internet or something.
It says unable to start video because the host stopped it.
Maybe it'll allow you again if we can get one of our.
Oh,
there you go.
I think
You
maybe.
just yeah.
Good timing. Well, you froze there for a minute and then we lost you. So we figured we would be joining us again. So anyway, we're happy to have you back. It's good timing. So we did have a couple of questions. So maybe we'll just get to one just because of time, to be respectful of that. So one of the questions was, what has been most successful for you in terms of acquiring customers? What has been your, how did you build your clientele and your customers? Derek spoke about the word of mouth piece.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big part of it, going back to like our small community center being so helpful in that regard. But we have had a social media presence as well, although that's a bit outside of both of our comfort zones. Yeah. So
we're posting on Facebook almost every day, something new, something that's happening, keeping it fresh, keeping it current.
And Instagram as well. I think when we put our events and calendar things like events like that on our social media, a lot of people do respond that way. So, and then, people can share it from there. So again, it comes back to just networking. Yeah, and we also enjoyed hosting an open house here. We visited our neighbors, introduced ourselves, and just kind of making that personal connection, I think, helps.
For sure. Great points, actually. Well, I guess that will conclude our Q&A portion for today. So we are going to have a little survey that's going to pop up in the chat box. So thank you so much, Derek, Jordan, and Heather, for sharing your knowledge and insight with us today. On behalf of Founder Week YQG, we can't wait to celebrate your continued growth and success. We have a quick survey for all of our attendees, so please click on the link in the chat box to provide feedback for this session. This will enter you in a session giveaway to win a $50 Windsor card. And the more sessions you provide feedback for, the more entries you can have in that final draw. So before we close, we just wanted to ask attendees that are comfortable to turn their video on. We'd like to do a quick screenshot picture. So for those of you, we've got several participants here. So if everybody would be so kind as to turn your video on, whether you're in your pajamas watching or not, we don't care. Oh, it says we can't do that because they're using webinar. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead with the screenshot. So the three of us will smile so we do the screenshot. Okay, we're assuming you got it. Okay. I love that I'm dealing with your chat box. It's just great.
Well,
All
thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. So incredible to talk with you. And I hope that, again, founders supporting founders, please be sure to visit Ignite Health, which is on Manning near the EC Row Expressway, just south of the EC Row Expressway, and Estate of Health, which is in downtown Kingsville. So please don't forget to check out our schedule for the upcoming events. Next up, we have a fireside chat with Marley Narain of Miss Buttercups. I hope I said that right, at 2 p.m. Also, we just wanted to ensure that you don't miss our Founders Week YQG. We're offering a few bits of perks while quantities last, so check out the fun and freebies tab to learn more. Also, we have coming up Town Hall and Failure Night, and make sure you add them to your schedule. If you go into Schedule, you can add them right from there. It's going to be some great opportunities, so thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We appreciate you coming out, and thank you to the three of you for agreeing to be a part of this and sharing your great stories. Thanks so much. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.